Hi, I'm Donna, and in today's video I'm going to be covering the Shadow Magician Archetype and how this manifests in the workplace. So it might show up in you and it might show up in others, so other people, your co-workers if you will. I'm also going to cover the far-reaching consequences of having somebody in their Shadow Magician Archetype in the workplace. I don't want to stress that it might be you. If it's you, there's every chance you're like, meh, no thank you, next video, because it's quite kind of out there in a way. But it's also very recognisable in the workplace. I've worked in professional settings all my life and I can recognise the Shadow Magician archetype. And I think there's times probably where I've been exhibiting some of that, part of that. I've certainly felt subject to it at times. So let's get into it. So let's think about this magician archetype. The magician archetype is skilled and wise, very smart and clever cookie, but not always used to very positive ends. Think Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. Think how Gollum was so manipulative and so divisive in trying to get between Frodo and Samwise. That's the kind of vibe, the kind of feel we get with the Shadow Magician archetype. So one of the things you're going to be looking for is psychological manipulation. So this can be really subtle. This can be the sorts of things that pecks at your head. It can be emotional, as I say, manipulation, but also gaslighting. And it's going to show up with a subtle use of language. Oh, I thought that you already knew that. This kind of comment, the kind of thing that on the face of it is delivered with a smile, but underneath it, it's quite unpleasant, really. So you're going to be thinking about things like somebody who forgets that they had a conversation with you where you agreed X, Y, and Z, and suddenly they've got no notion, and then you're wondering if it was you that, did I forget that? Did I not remember that correctly? And you start wondering if you're the one, when in actual fact you're kind of being manipulated. It's unpleasant, to say the least. You're going to be thinking about folk who might flatter you or really play to the lovely aspects of you, but they're using it in a kind of a way that holds you down, a way that doesn't empower you, a way that coerces you to do their bidding. So we're looking at that kind of energy. It's not great. People start to feel indebted in those situations that, oh, well, I kind of owe them this, or, oh, they're really pleasant to me, so I'd best not this. So you kind of get this illusion of them being helpful towards you, when in actual fact, they are literally being helpful to themselves. So it's just creating that dependency. Another thing that happens with the Shadow Magician archetype is that they hoard information and knowledge. They literally hold it to themselves and use it and play it strategically. And that won't be for your good, that will be entirely for their good. It's mean, it's very intentional. And what it does is it means they hold the power, and it means that other people, other members, you can't work together. It's really hard to collaborate because you're always working with missing information and it undermines people. So think about Severus Snape in Harry Potter, who was very duplicitous, at the very least, holding back information and sharing it in here, there and everywhere, but never giving all of the information all of the time. There's also, with the Shadow Magician, a creation of division. So really peddling and absolutely loving conflict and competition, but at times like not actually getting too involved with it, but just saying enough or doing enough to cause it amongst others, to create the he said, she said, to make the co-workers wonder what's going on. It really undermines, it creates a mistrusting environment. And why does the Shadow Magician do this? To further their own agenda, to cause a distraction, to cause conflict that means that, you know, they can quietly get on with moving ahead in their career, for example, while everybody else is left fighting in lumps, metaphorically speaking, of course. So people are then caught up with the team dynamics, and it holds things up, it's unpleasant. The other thing the Shadow Magician will do is have this air of superiority. They will have this knowledge, because they are smart and they'll have a lot of technical knowledge, and they really can hold that close to them and not share it. And they will also give this impression that, well, you don't know this stuff, so you're that little. They'll be very belittling and very kind of I ain't sharing, on very what you know isn't worth knowing. I'm saying belittling in very many different ways. So they put themselves in an unreachable position, which isn't helpful generally to the workplace. They are self-serving in their rationalisation. So they'll make decisions or be involved in decisions, and they will kind of justify being manipulative, being underhand, being unethical by saying this is for the greater good, when in actual fact they're just serving themselves by the time you unpick it all. So they're putting the team in a precarious position in many instances for not the team's good. So it's just really putting themselves absolutely first and above others. It's unpleasant. So for example, if they're in a high leadership position, they might say, right, actually it's pay cuts for everybody, or we're, either taking the money or reducing the working days, but it turns out that they got a bigger bonus. This kind of thing. And the final thing that they'll do is that they undermine trust and morale. Now, you could say that the impact of everything that they've done undermines trust and morale, but it fosters an environment of fear, of dependency, and nobody can function, nobody can thrive in these kinds of environments. So the Shadow Magician, it ain't a pretty picture. So where does this leave a team of workers? We've got this lack of trust. People can't share, they don't feel able to share, they don't feel that they are listened to, they don't feel heard, they're feeling very belittled, that what words they do say are twisted, their intention of what they said is distorted. So we've got a team where there's a lack of trust. People are a bit paranoid, people are a bit like, who can I trust? So you end up with this toxic work culture. People are walking on eggshells, people don't speak their truth, they don't want to contribute, they don't know who to trust. It gets very competitive in the workplace, which people don't thrive. It's very dramatic, everything's a drama. So we've got all these like warring going on at the side, which is not conducive to great work. So you've got people who are disengaged and they've got low morale. People will ultimately stop contributing. They're just not going to do it. They're going to not bring their brilliant ideas forward, because guess who's got all the great ideas? It's the one with the Shadow Magician archetype there. And then what that ultimately leads to is this burnout and absolute utter resentment. So you're going to have people that either are or feel overworked, even though the work they're doing is probably 10% of what they could do or could give if they could have that creativity express that they can bring. They're going to be undervalued. They're going to feel really drained. They're not going to feel empowered. They probably don't feel empowered to empower others. There's no recognition for the work that they're doing, and you're going to be working in places where the turnover is really high, because ultimately people will vote with their feet where they feel able to. Not all working environments are places where you can like, forget it, I'm out, I'm going to get another job. And we know that's not always the case. So that's really can feel very trapped and very squished into a box. So as I said before, it's not a pretty picture. It leaves the team in a very precarious and unproductive situation. So what can you do when a team member is operating from the Shadow Magician archetype? Well, you can run, Forrest, run. You can totally get out of there. As I said, it's not as easy as that. And we're going to explore what actions you can take in the next video. So for now, good day, and hopefully see you when that next video is available.